So welcome to our talk on the Debian of Data, which we hope is something that's not only a project, but well, is at least increasingly becoming reality. So Rufus has come here from Cambridge in the UK. So let's give him a warm welcome.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? It's working. That's fantastic. I must say I'm phenomenally impressed, having run a conference myself, smaller than this one, at the organization here. I think it's absolutely amazing. But then I guess what happens when geeks are in charge. Okay. I hope my voice is okay. I've been rather ill, which is why I'm wearing the scarf and stuff. I had flu, but I'm better now. I flew in yesterday. I'm going to talk to you. I just want to start off by saying, who am I? Who the hell are we? The foundation is something called the Open Knowledge Foundation. It was founded 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. It's a not-for-profit, it's kind of charitable, and our aim is to promote, create, and disseminate open knowledge. By that I mean content, data, genes to geodata, stats to sonnets. Now, one thing is we're a community. We're organized around a set of projects and working groups, a bit like Apache. People can come to us and start projects that live there. And we basically 3 principles, which is open knowledge, meritocracy, and tolerance. So how does this lead into the Debian of Data? So I'm going to start off talking about what do I mean by open, because this seems a really boring thing. And I think everyone here knows what I mean by open source, right? Put up everyone. Who doesn't know what open source means? Everyone knows, okay. Who's heard of Creative Commons? And have you ever heard people say stuff to you like, my stuff is Creative Commons? Now, the thing is that statement isn't very meaningful, right? When someone says something's open source, you mean it has one of a particular set of licenses. And in particular, you know you can share that stuff with other people. But when someone says something's Creative Commons, it doesn't mean very much to you, right? Because those Creative Commons licenses are incompatible. You can't mix, often, stuff under one Creative Commons license with another unless you know which Creative Commons license. And so one thing that we kind of say, when we say open data or open knowledge, why this matters is the whole dream here is that we can share and reuse other people's stuff, that we're going to make this massive patchwork quilt of data. And to do that, we need to know that we can reuse other people's stuff freely. So it's really important that we actually are clear about what we mean by openness, even though it seems really boring. So freedom to access, to use, reuse, and redistribute. Okay, so how's this relevant? Right, because except for some really hardcore, we don't care about openness or freedom necessarily in some sense in itself. Why do we care about it? Why? Why do we care about it? What is it we want to do? I don't know, who here recognizes this phrase? It's very English, but anyone? Right. Where's the phrase from? Girls' song. Exactly. What we want, what we really, really want, is to create and use information. Right? That's what we really want to do. We don't give a damn, really, about whether that data's licensed or unlicensed. It's that we want to do shit with that data. Right? We want to take that data and we want to know what our representatives did. What did they vote on? What are they doing with our money if we pay taxes? Or I'm a researcher on global warming. What is the temperature history? What is the temperature data? What are the projections for the future? How are they computed? What are the models? Whatever we are, we want to create and use information for really important ends. But specifically, what do we want to do? We want to get lots of this data and we want to plug it together, right? And this is so blindingly obvious, but I just want to emphasize what we want to do is we want to get data and we want to plug it together. So I'm going to give an example here of why stuff might be interesting, because it's really dull just talking in abstract, right? So this is a data set actually that comes from the US. Weirdly, a lot of data comes from the US. Can anyone guess why a lot of my examples come from the US? And it's not because I particularly like the US or not. Can anyone guess? Right, the federal government data is public domain, and also they don't love PDF. right? A lot of people out there, particularly in the government, love PDF. And what's bad about PDF, right? Everyone here knows what's bad about PDF is you can't get stuff out of it very easily, right? But even here, I'll give an example here, actually, in a moment of where you can even obfuscate stuff quite well in TXT. But so what this is a story, actually, a really interesting historical story, and it's about US wheat production. Now, you wouldn't think this is so fascinating, but I was speaking just a year ago. What was going on a year ago? There were these massive spikes in commodity prices. Everyone was saying, what's going to happen? What are people going to eat? Now, this is about, you can't read this, but it starts, each of these graphs starts in 1860. And by the way, if I speak too quickly, please tell me, because I have a tendency to speak too. I speak too quickly. Okay. So every time I speak too quickly, you can start, like, I don't know, humming or something. Okay. So these start in 1860, and they run to 2008. And the starting one is output, right? This is the amount of wheat that you're actually getting in bushels. And you can't really read it on the axis there, but there's essentially, this here is about the First World War, okay? And there's a tripling in output between 1860 and the First World War. Now, what is that? What happens in the 1860s? The Civil War ends in the US. And people start, all those films you see about cowboys and stuff, that's people going westwards. The Transcontinental Railroad opens in 1865. By the way, site of one of the great financial rip-offs of all time, the Transcontinental Railroad, basically. But leaving that aside, these people go out west and they start farming. So there's this huge opening of the prairies, and that has massive consequences. For example, everyone in Europe, if you're a peasant or a landowner, bad shit happens to you. Because what happens is wheat production in the US triples. It drives down the price of wheat in Western Europe. So there's a whole alliance between aristocracy and peasantry in Europe as a result of this in the late 19th century. It's called the Great Depression in agriculture. In the late 19th century, it has big political effects. Okay, but what's really interesting here is that yield, and we can tell, yield has not gone up at all. There is no increase in the amount of corn you're getting out of the same bit of land. This is all about just farming more land, right? But at some point, that stops happening. At some point, basically, the amount of acreage, which you can see up here, which is being farmed, you can really see the tripling in acreage, flattens out. This is around the First World War. There's no more land to farm. That's it, okay? You've run out of more stuff you can go and do. And so what happens? How is it that output keeps rising? And this is the story here, which is this incredible revolution, the Green Revolution, which is driven by technology, basically. It's pesticides and it's nitrogen. This huge increase in yield, a tripling in yield again, like a massive thing that leads to this great increase in output again, despite the fact you've run out of acreage. And this is the reason that price, though increasing a bit, stays fairly level here. And this is not, by the way, in real terms, but this is 2008. This is when commodity prices started to take off. So you can actually see a huge amount out of this data story. But getting that data isn't easy. Because, you know, I got this data, I'd like to do lots of other things like it, like normalize price, have it in real terms. So to give you one example, I was also interested in unemployment. I actually am an economist as well. And so I said, I want unemployment, US unemployment. You think it's pretty standard data. So you go and dig around on their website. You finally locate this. And look, they have text as well as PDF. Your heart leaps. Is there anything noticed anything about this text file? Right? I mean, it's actually almost, I'm exaggerating a little bit, almost artificial intelligence getting these headings out of there. And they're human recognizable, but they're really damn hard to automatically extract. I mean, they really are. I've written the code, and it's not easy. In fact, I gave up, and I just wrote them out by hand. And, you know, we get help for things like, it looks really nice for humans having all these dots, but, you know, why couldn't I have a CSV file? You know, so a whole bunch of effort has to go into getting this file, extracting it, and after some amount of effort, I have this. I have a CSV file, which you can see being printed out here. And you have to do this a lot. Most data files you want, you have to go and do this. I've created and parsed a whole bunch of data, which I can use. What about you guys? I mean, here's what I can do, and guess what's happened here? This is another wonderful story, right?